everybody. So I've run out of topics with sword in hand that I feel like covering with the videos that I've been doing on practicing on your own. If you have any suggestions, feel free to put them below and we'll see if any of them are things that I feel like I can do. So instead what we're going to start talking about now is videos on doing the various fitness related aspects of what we can do that helps our fencing. I've written extensively about this at my blog, Fight With All Your Strength. There's a lot of underlying theory and philosophy towards this covered there. I'll make sure to include a link in the description. And so I'm not going to go into a lot of those sorts of details in this video because I've already typed those things up. What we're going to talk about today is medicine ball exercises. So medicine ball exercises are nice for us when we're in this state of stay-at-home orders and limited contact with others because we don't have to go to a gym. A medicine ball like the one I've got here, generally available in the range of like $20 to $30, and all you need is a sturdy wall like this, or a brick wall, something like that, to be able to use to do these exercises with. They're not super difficult logistically in that way. So specific characteristics that we're looking for in our balls, we're looking for ones that bounce, okay? There are lots of medicine balls, and more common kinds of medicine balls don't bounce particularly well. There are a couple of brands that I found that do bounce well. I'll include links for those below in the video as well, so you get a sense of where we're doing this. And the reason I want to make sure they're ones that are bounce is because that's an essential characteristic we're going to be making use of in these videos. So, the basic idea here is we're looking at the elastic properties of our muscles and connective tissue and how our nervous system facilitates those elastic properties to produce fast motions. And because fast is the objective of these exercises, we also don't want to use very heavy medicine balls. The heaviest you want to use is one that's about twice as heavy as the weapon you're training for. So for most of us, that means 4 or 6 pounds. For those of us who are doing predominantly or exclusively very light weapons such as ball sword, it means you're getting a 2-pound ball. Heavier than that doesn't do what we want it to do, doesn't do the things I'm going to talk about here from the standpoint of developing specific useful fitness characteristics and performance characteristics for our training. Now, one of the essential characteristics we're talking about is elasticity. And there's a thing about the elasticity of our tissues here. So first of all, if we look at me tapping my finger here, now it barely does anything. I use just my muscles alone. But if I use the elasticity of it, we will have a much harder hit. You can try this at home on your own. Just put your hand on the desk or the wall or whatever. Right? But there's a secondary point to this. If I pull my finger out like this and I just hold it there and I wait for a while, our tissues are going to demonstrate a property known as viscoelasticity. And that is a time-dependent elasticity component, such that after it's been held for a while, you lose a lot of the force that you were going to get if you would just let it go immediately. In addition to that, there's a neural component, what's known as the stretch shortening cycle, which facilitates this whole sort of elastic kind of response. And so it's these elastic responses that we want to look at in terms of what these actions are going to do and how they're going to work. Now, this elastic component helps illustrate this basic idea of like why it feels natural to pull back before throwing a punch. You're loading those elastic tissues before firing them forward. Now, of course, this is a very telegraphed move. We're not looking to do highly telegraphed moves when we're doing fencing. So I'm going to grab a sword here real quick and I'm going to demonstrate a little bit of what we're actually looking for. So, if I've got my sword out in a nice extended position like this, and I simply do this cut 1 from that outside guard, I've pre-stretched these muscles here as I do this. I've pre-stretched these muscles back here a little bit as I do this. I'm going to get that. And that's a small example of this. It's not going to be the biggest one. There are going to be other scenarios where we can do even more of a pre-stretch. So if you think about, for instance, if I come up to a St. George's guard before cutting down here, I've stretched these muscles here, and then I'm going to execute this action from here. If I come to an inside guard, I've stretched these muscles back here before I'm going to use them for that. As I come to this inside guard here, I'm stretching through here, and then unleashing that stretched action. So the springy sorts of actions that exist within our fencing aren't giant movements, and we're training bigger versions of them with the fitness sorts of exercises that we're doing, and that then carries over into the smaller actions of our actual fencing. There's also some full body torso sorts of exercises that I'm going to demonstrate here as well, which just help facilitate the process of how we use our entire body as we execute actions to do these things. I'm going to demonstrate a set of exercises here, which are the usual ones that I do. They are not magic exercises in the sense of like, these are the only good ones. They're ones that work well for specific components that I think get used in the sort of fencing that I do. And what I'm showing you today is also only a subset of the total set of things that I do with medicine ball exercises. Be thoughtful about choosing which medicine ball exercises to do. Don't just grab another video online to be like, hey, this is what this person said to do, but they weren't necessarily relevant to the sword fighting that I do. So who cares? So first and foremost, I'm just going to throw a basic chest pass here. I'm going to come into what would generally be referred to as an athletic stance. So it's a very small motion, okay? And one way I like to describe what we're trying to do to people who are new to these exercises, think of it as playing hot potato. You're trying to have the ball in your hand for the least amount of time that you can, because that's maximizing the elastic components of the exercise here, okay? Now, in terms of how many to do, start off at 10, maybe work your way up to like 12 or 15. The focus is not on how many you can do in a row. These are not conditioning exercises in that sense. The focus is on the velocity that you can do them at. If I do 20, 25 in a row, I can do that, but they're gonna get slower, which means that I'm gonna have a large number of repetitions, which are bad repetitions, because the only good repetitions are the fast repetitions. All right, so first basic exercise. That chest pass. Now I'm going to do a smaller exercise, which is geared more towards this component of the motion. That shows up like this wrist snap of my Mollet. I'm going to come up here with my elbows and shoulders at about 90 degrees. I'm doing this just almost barely above head height so that I don't whack myself in the face with the ball. So that chest pass, this wrist bounce. The exercise I'm going to show you is geared towards developing the rotational component here, because we do have rotations in our fencing. They tend to be small actions, looking for fast creation of rigidity to transfer of power from legs to upper body, or small motions as I come around from one side to the other like fight. So I'm going to stand here, all right? So this is my arm position here. The ball, my arm are extended far enough so the ball lines up the pillar. I'm going to come back about this far. And obviously I'm going to turn around and do this on the other side. Right. So that exercise, there's going to be this natural creation of bracing your core as you do this. There's all this small motion that's going on here in terms of the hips of driving this motion in a very natural sort of way. Not the sort of thing where I generally find it necessary to like cue those specific pieces, because the exercise is designed in such a way that it's very likely that people will naturally do what we're looking for them to do. Good exercises are like that. Not all exercises are, but it's always great when they are. Two more exercises I'm going to show you, also geared towards sort of trunk mechanics. So this one here is just going to be a slam. So I did pull out a bigger ball for this, a 6-pound ball, as opposed to the 4-pound ball that I was using initially, because I'm more focused on this whole body action of coming up and then back down again with this small motion. It's a little bit more weight into it because I'm not training arm velocity, I'm training what's going on here with this action. And the motion here, starting in athletic stance, we're coming up and then we're doing basically sort of a crunch. The focus of this slam exercise is what's going on through here. My arms are part of it. My arms are not irrelevant in this, but they're not the biggest component. They're not the most essential part of what we're going to do. The next exercise I'm going to show you, and our last one for this set, is going to be an overhead throw and catch. And this is about training the back muscles here explosively. This is the exercise that's most likely to bother folks who do have pre-existing back issues. And I'm going to show you a brief variant on how to do that in a way that reduces the issues associated with that. So, when I do this indoors, I have to make a point of looking well off, make sure I'm not going to stack any overhead lights. So you may notice there's sort of this pop motion coming from my lower legs. This is a natural extension of the way these sorts of things are typically done in real life. What my back is doing here is transferring energy from my legs to my arms. This is what we're doing with our sword as well. It's not that I want to be doing this with my back, because that's not really a thing I'm going to do in fencing. If you do have concerns about your back while doing this one, simply leave out the catch part, since that's the part that's harder on your back. So, all right, you just keep it up, catch. And then we want to make sure we still get that elastic component as we do this, which means that when you're doing these, letting the ball come to rest in between each, you're going to come down a little bit and then throw it up. All right? So those are the basic exercises that I suggest doing with the medicine ball. Again, cheap, easy to get tool, easy to use by yourself. As always, if you have any questions or comments, I would love to hear them. Thank you.